as far as I know, this is the first communion message I've ever heard that is based on a federal holiday, the theme. So as you know, this week we celebrated Independence Day, which is remembering the Declaration of Independence and the War of Revolution that helped establish this nation. The citizens of the original colonies wanted to be independent from the British who lived across the pond. They wanted autonomy, they wanted freedom, they wanted to control their own future. If you want to use a metaphor, they believed they could prosper without the hands of the British on the second wheel of the driver's ed car. Ever been in one of those? This week, we celebrated the independence that we still have today. But this morning, I'd like us to celebrate and remember our dependence. So to start, I would like to read from John chapter 17, starting verse 17. And this is a prayer from Jesus that is taking place shortly after the Last Supper. It says, verse 17, "Sanctify them in the truth. Your word is truth. As you have sent me into the world, so I have sent them into the world. And for their sakes I sanctify myself, so that they also may be sanctified in truth. I ask not only on behalf of these, but on behalf of those who will believe in me through their word," includes us, "that they may all be one, as you, Father, are in me and I am in you. May they also be in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. The glory that you have given me, I have given them, so that they may be one, as we are one, I and them, and you and me, and they may become completely one, so that the world may know that you have sent me and have loved them, even as you have loved me. Father, I desire that those also whom you have given me may be with me where I am, to see my glory, which you have given me, because you loved me before the foundation of the world." So in another passage in John, Jesus says that he can do nothing by himself. He can only do what he sees the Father doing. That is dependence. When Jesus is in the Garden of Gethsemane and praying that the cup would pass from him, but that God's will would be done, that is dependence. And this dependence, which Jesus modeled for his disciples and expected of his disciples, this dependence that Jesus had on his Father, is the same dependence we should have, not just on Jesus, not just on God, but on each other. We should not be pursuing God as individuals, but as a family, dependent upon one another. After all, we are in this together, and our mission is the same. We are to love. We are to let the world know who God is. This dependency should be strengthened when we meet together, especially when we partake in the Lord's Supper. A whole sermon series could be preached on this subject, but I'll stop here. Salvation doesn't work with independence. Christian fellowship doesn't work with independence. So, as we take this bread and this cup this morning, remember that Christ secured our salvation. Without him, we are without hope. Also remember that each one of us, every single one of us, would not be here if it was not for the actions of another Christian, whether they're living or they're resting. If the disciples had listened to the words of Christ to live lives dependent upon God and his Son and on their fellow disciples, the church would not be standing today. As we celebrate this country's independence from an oppressor, let us also remember our dependence upon our liberator and the people around us who have also been liberated. Christ died to save us from our dependence upon sin and to move our dependence upon him, on his Father, and on each other. So keep that in mind as we take our communion this morning.